Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the channel. It is September 29th, 2024. The time now is 9:21 p.m. Eastern Time. It is Sunday. And we're going to be talking about firewalls in the mind from mind hacking. Let's see here. So yesterday we left off at the network analyzers and packet sniffers. So let's continue on network analyzer and packet sniffers are used in computer science to map out the architecture of computer networks. The packet sniffers are used to analyze the raw data that's transmitted between computers on a network. In cybernetic analysis, humans use visual and audio communication via media, channels, and ports to communicate to their human networks. The FBI, the CIA, and the NSA use large databases of people to understand human networks. These systems can discover terrorist cells, spy networks, or organized crime networks. Sales analysts use mappings of power structures in corporations, and they do this to get to the decision maker. This is a similar application of network analyzers. Hold on. Oops, sorry guys. So the Echelon for the Mind is a project that's named for a global communication network analyzer. It has many sub-projects since then, and the name has changed. So, quote unquote, chatter is a word used in the intelligence agencies to mean a gross aggregate of communications about a topic. Chatterbots play a similar role when probing and predicting opinions on an individual. These findings, hold on. Sorry about that. Had a little problem. Okay, so the network analyzers, we were talking about that. So the chatterbots. The chatterbots play a similar role when probing and predicting opinions on an individual. These findings can be used on a population for the purposes of prediction and control. Now think of this as a better polling mechanisms to predict how the general culture will respond to events or information. Imagine, in addition to scouring communication channels to root out potential terrorists, minds can be probed to predict violent crimes. See the chapter on Alice and Tiffany for more details of uses of chatterbots for mind interrogations. Also, dream probing and dream interrogation supplements the information that can be obtained from email and spoken words. And dream probing will be discussed later in the chapters. So, taking advantage of the state of sleeping has been a traditional guerrilla warfare tactic. Armies, animals, and civilians are vulnerable while they sleep. This is the time to attack them. President Kennedy said in his famous speech that these are the tactics of the ruthless conspiracy. Eventually, a system will rise that can read everyone's thoughts. And it's just like Klaus Schwab said, no one will be able to hide what they're thinking. The elites are gonna be able to see what's in your mind, what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're doing, what you're dreaming, and that's very scary. So new organizations of thought police and laws, new organizations of thought police will create laws and they will pass them. This level of invasiveness is already being done to a small percentage of the population, but it will expand to everyone. Think the wrong thought, and you can be quote unquote re educated, or you can be arrested. These techniques are already being tested with remote viewing spies. Then you have the antivirus software. Is there a way to stop remote mind hacks on individuals? or something equivalent to an antivirus software on a computer? The mind has no firewalls. So, how can these kinds of attacks be defended against? In any cybernetic system, feedback and adaptive control systems are in play. Since the mind has no firewall, the only way to stop external signals from manipulating your brain or anyone else's brain is to block, jam, or scramble them. The stimulation of the negative covariance pathways in the mind's neural network in order to dampen the biocommunication signal is a theory of jamming. However, adding noise to the incoming information and feedback loop can have serious side effects. While the target or the individual will cease to be controlled, they may exhibit bizarre thoughts and behaviors. The brain is very good at filtering out noise, however. Other strategies would be to dampen the bioamplification factor with drugs. Many people do that. Obviously, uh, we do that normally when we're dealing with the spiritual aspect of what we are, when we're doing bad things. We do it when we have guilt, shame, all these other emotions. We use drugs or alcohol. So it would be, smart for an individual to use drugs or alcohol when they're being attacked by these advanced technologies. So while the target or the individual will cease to be controlled, they may exhibit bizarre thoughts and behaviors. The brain is very good at filtering out the noise. Other strategies would be to dampen the bioamplification factor with drugs. This strategy has side effects, which would be to dumb down the target or the individual in the individual's mind and make it less active. Well, I heard, so they say, that marijuana or the lovely Mary Jane, that's not government sanctioned, because those things have something else in it, has a tendency to block out certain things. The only thing is that it makes you not lazy, but really, really slow and hungry all the time. But I heard the marijuana is the one that um, basically cock blocks these type of technologies. Let's see here, or at least dampens it because you're not freaked out about it. So a major defense against cognitive warfare and mind viruses is simply truth, a way for the target or the individual to understand the methods employed against them and the sources, such as in this book. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. China and other countries have created firewalls for the entire internet. They protect their culture from cultural warfare and viruses by filtering out information. But against these mind control weapons, little is known in protecting a population. The Russians are rumored to use a woodpecker over the horizon radar systems on their populations in order to add protection against a psychotronic warfare attack by the United States. Passive shielding is ineffective against an adaptive attack system. Superconductor shielding would work in principle, but it is impractical and expensive. The only practical solution would be wide area adaptive jammers, which are technologically difficult to build. Now they get into the firewalls. In a famous article titled "The Mind Has No Firewall," the author describes a not often discussed threat, which is called psychoterrorism and mind hacking technology from the abstract perspective. Indeed, the human brain never evolved any mechanisms to prevent this kind of intrusion into its fundamental processes. However, the US and the Russian government have been hard at work since 1947 developing strategies against what used to be called quote unquote psychic warfare. The evolution of the technology and information warfare tactics has accelerated. The mind monitoring networks not only allows for the ominous total control of every human thought, but it is also a protection mechanism that filters a possible outside attack by another country. More on the topic later. So it was decided many decades ago that the people have no choice but to give up true privacy and freedom in order for security and protection against this relatively new threat from the outside. Hold on, let me read this again. Okay, so it was decided many decades ago that the people have no choice but to give up true privacy and freedom in order for security and protection against this relatively new threat from the outside their country of origin, as well as a way for governments to exercise more control and predictability over the population. The illusion of privacy and freedom still functions almost as well as if it were real. The walls are cleverly disguised by a camouflage of quote unquote choice. A computer firewall works by filtering what kinds of data are allowed through, and an outside information stream, usually the internet. It blocks data from being transferred to or from an outside source, given a set of rules that describe the allowable times of transmission. Though these types of data and the only appropriate transmission protocols, the same approach is used by total information awareness. So the total information awareness and control programs run by the US Department of Defense, by controlling the mass media programming and belief systems of a large percentage of the populace, is rapidly alterable. The internet poses the most difficulty in controlling the information. The tactic used here is to flood the key search terms with artificial intelligence, which creates noise so that it won't be relayed or relied upon as a source of truth. This practice will, in time, force most people back into the mainstream controlled information sources. The FCC watches the airwaves and uses the fear of fines as the method to filter information on those channels. But the capability to directly alter memory, alter your mood, and alter the information processing in a single individual human mind is becoming an increasingly more popular approach. Literally, the mind can be made to block out or filter certain information. Now, the fact that this was written probably, well, they were working on this prior to them writing this over 25 years ago. And they're talking about it like it's a matter of fact. It's already being used on the population of the US and Canada and other places. This brings us to the point of 2020. Why was the brainwashing so effective? Maybe this is one of the reasons. You combine propaganda, the regular old propaganda, with subliminal messaging, with the color code training and trainments, right? The color code, which is something that's used in creating Manchurian candidates or assassins. You combined all the old school, psychological warfare tactics, and then you had add the component of, sending pulses to the brain directly, or sending pulses through the machinery like TVs, laptops, computers, iPads, cell phones. You send the pulsing, I guess you can say pulsing data algorithm, let's just say, and it oscillates the brain waves. So it can make you docile or exhausted or tired or they can flood your brain with, you know, a dump of information to have you, to have you all over the place. So it reminds me that this is probably one of the things that happened during the poison dart situation, where everybody was the hive mind, and barely anyone was thinking for themselves. Kind of like the Hunger Games, except they had microchips. So literally, the mind can be made to block out and filter certain information. There is a famous example of how the mind does this naturally. In a 1 minute video of the spotting event, the orange gorilla runs across a field. People are asked afterwards if they saw the big orange gorilla. Usually, only one person in the audience remembers seeing it. The film is replayed, and many people usually accuse the professor of switching footage because they cannot believe they could have missed it the first time. This is crazy because this is probably what's been happening to our population. This is why nobody sees anything, or nobody, everybody misses the dangers that we're facing. In the history of America, even earlier, many topics were taboo to discuss without fear of serious repercussions. You could be burned at the stake as a witch, hung on a cross, or tortured in a dungeon if the wrong information was conveyed. Freedom of speech has never been realized as an ideal. Cultures have always evolved strict information controls, for the better or for the worse. One example of information that the public might agree should be kept out, or might agree that should be kept out of the general awareness, might be quote unquote bomb making science. Others might argue that the people always need a way to fight tyranny should it arise. Pornography is just information. And then it goes into a controversial program discovered by the public that collects every piece of information on everyone and puts it into a database for pattern and relationship data mining. The point is that controlling just a few streams of information is far more manageable than trying to control them all. To change the common belief of a mass culture, you need to only convince the majority by coordinating a few influential people. So, to garner support for some cause, the Department of Defense only needs to use the controlled information streams. So, again, pornography is just information, but many argue that it damages the mind of the community and changes the acceptable behavior. Those that enjoy that kind of information would argue that that is the kind of culture they would prefer, and that people should be judged by their actions, not by the information they consume. Another example of why information might need to be so tightly controlled is in a paranoid military culture. And this is where, quote unquote, loose lips sink ships. A direct selective erasure of scientists' minds who have previously worked on secret bases and on projects deemed so important that the knowledge they possess would be considered dangerous to the military establishment if it were to get out. It would be a desirable method of filtering, containing, or purging the information. The firewall technologies for a human mind operates at several levels. Currently, the monitoring of the potential breaches is all that is watched by the central intelligence. The automated keyword and the key thought altering system, it's still being perfected. One of their main missions and true purpose of creation was to monitor and control all the information around the country and the world. Generally, the public thinks of this agency as the old-fashioned spy house. but that is only a very small part of what the CIA does. Everyone has a unique brain signature, also called brain prints. If an individual's brain signature becomes too abnormal, it could be a sign of an outside country's mind hacking attempt. If an all out information war began using mind hackers, a country might be able to protect the population by thought filtering. The fuck? You ain't my god? Shit. Filtering my thoughts? What is your. Man, we're in deep shit. We're in deep shit. Okay. Sorry. So they want to filter out the population to protect us, is what they're trying to say here. If a country could map every cognitive model of every human being or person and keep it in a sync with the original functioning parameters, this cognitive modeling technique was called Project Mind, MIN, which means Mental Integrated Neuron Duplicator. Many people's brain signals are stored and tracked in real time on supercomputers that are housed in semi secret command control centers and the communication underground bases in the US. At its core, a quote unquote mind, which is the mental integrated neuron duplicator, is a giant covariance matrix, or it can be viewed as a self organizing artificial neuron network with some hard coded structure. It, it's Vicky. It's Vicky. It models the clickstream of neuron depolarization and patterns of the human brain. The mind, which is the mental integrated neuron duplicator, cognitive approximation can be used to simulate and predict as well as for filtering and monitoring. So, mind hackers is okay, a slang term for mind hackers is psychic warriors. I've already talked about that with, the Satanists. The CIA and the NSA have been experimenting with trying to create a firewall for the human mind. Using cybernetic hive mind configurations of human beings, they test ways to be able to interrogate a mind without revealing information to the target. The basic problem is that during mind melding, secrets slip bidirectionally. That's right, bitches. That's right. The tested solutions truly explain, quote unquote, the CIA's journey into madness. Biological computers operate with the same rules as a silicon computer on the most part. Networking structures are being tested. The person who acts as the firewall in the network must lack intelligence and knowledge of the program and project objectives so as to state so as the state secrets don't slip through to the target. Like I said a few years back when I was talking about the Chinese version of this, they're doing this to their own people too. So one of the people that's, the survivors of the targeting said that you can create, they were trying to do a patent. They were trying to create a patent where they can do the same to the soldier, the Chinese soldier that was being done to them. So because it's a two-way communication, it can be a two-way communication. If someone understands how to go back and target the soldier, they can do so. If they can tune into that soldier. So using the cybernetic hive mind configurations of humans, they test ways to be able to interrogate a mind without revealing the information to the targeted person. The basic problem is that during the mind melding, secrets slip bidirectionally. The tested solution truly explained that the CIA's journey into madness. The tested solution, biological computers operate with the same rules as silicon computers on the most part. Network structures are being tested. The person who acts as the firewall in the network must lack intelligence of the program, basically. And then they show you how it works, a diagram. A cybernetic hive mind with a firewall. So you have the group of handlers, right? The handlers, Then then you have the person that's the firewall, right? And then you have the remote controlled soldier, or citizen, or the Manchurian candidate, or the target that you want to interrogate. So thought streaming filter, or filtering. Just as the technology can be amplified, or can amplify certain thought processes to obsessive compulsive levels, it can also be used to suppress and filter out thoughts. This could be useful for protection of the population. Let's say Russia starts using their phased arrays to beam violent messages and behavior over the entire population of the United States in an effort to cause disruption and division. The defense move would be to filter or divert those thoughts. Also, in the future, the people of the world may decide that there is just too much dangerous knowledge swimming around in the internet that could jeopardize the whole human. No, we won't decide that. We won't decide that. Only you guys, the ones controlling this technology, would decide that. So maybe the population will decide this, that there's too many dangerous things for the human race to know, basically. So the human race, such as a virus engineering, uranium purification, or maybe this technology of mind hacking, so they can literally put thought filters onto an entire population so that certain discoveries won't happen. Control freaks, man. Controlling the belief systems of large groups could have the effect of deterring rediscovery of certain technologies, or simply diminishing or diminish the interest in it. Hold on, guys. There's a mosquito in the room. What? There's a mosquito. There's a mosquito. Hold on. Okay, whether this is actually occurring is disputed. Certainly the psychological persuasion using movies and cartoons to spoof the existence of mind hacking, using biocommunications as being futuristic and ridiculous, has occurred since the 1960s with great success. The umbrella industry of psychiatry has also been famously used unscientifically to unscientifically discredit testimony of mind hackers or mind hacks. One famous survey done in the 80s claimed that over 25 million Americans believed they have had some kind of alien encounter. Over 20 million Americans have tinnitus of unknown origin, a universal side effect of those thousands of reports of severe mind hacks. Mind hacks. Oddly enough, the average person is more willing to believe that mass delusion and psychics rather than biocommunication technology, because the experience of being mind hacked is so foreign. Most who are not educated in the field assume it must be from another planet. Once the commercial segment develops and promotes it, it will be as commonplace as a mobile phone communication, and most people won't care how it works anyway. The other reason thought filters are being so heavily worked on is that clone, during a clone mind meld, thoughts go bidirectionally from every hive mind participant. Obviously, during an interrogation, one would not read their memory. This is a huge hole in the current systems. Most of the research is being devoted to development of tools to filter thought pathways. Even the user interface for the US Satan system, SATAN acronym, uses an intergalactic symbol set developed by NASA, just in case the target sees through the EEG cloner's eyes. which we do, by the way. A lot of people are starting to see through other people's eyes. For the reason the target will not be able to tell what country is doing the attacking, nor will will they as easily learn the user interface's capabilities. Ooh, somebody just arrived. There's an energy that just arrived. Oof, oof, oof. They're not happy with me. It also plays into the. I'm sorry, guys. I just, every time I feel an energy walk in the room, I have to announce it because it's pretty heavy. Okay, so it also plays into the thoroughly promoted myth of aliens. It's not a myth. I know he says it's a myth. It's not a myth. But okay, let's go with it. Myth of aliens running amok here on Earth. More details of the system will be discussed in the next chapter. Trace route and multi levels of indirection. Computer hackers often reroute network traffic all over the globe before reaching a host machine. This makes it much more difficult to trace the hacker. Just like with a phone call phreaking, using other innocent machines and networks to launch an attack is the best way not to get caught. The PBX boxes are hacked for this reason, so that calls can be placed without being traceable. Using IP cloaking mechanisms discussed earlier, as well as encrypted delayed messaging to zombified machines, makes it also incredibly difficult to track the messages back to any one source or any one machine. And it can't, you can't use it as evidence in court. The concept for the investigations or the investigators of computer hackers is to trace the route back to the original hackers' machines or their phones. In the drug trafficking world, the same is done to trace the networks to the kingpin. But nothing like this is done in the mine hacking world, since the US government does not want to openly admit it is being done. In the mine hacking world, this indirection can also be achieved by hacking the mind of a general, let's say, or a colonel. The hacker can make them believe that they are developing their own quote unquote mind network for their own country, but use them to further their own ends. This level of indirection is very sneaky and scary. Yes, the sophistication of the mind hacking has reached this type of level. There is a group who strategizes about world domination using mind hacking technologies that jokingly refers to themselves as the cult of the mad cow. I've heard that, yes. As homage to the infamous hacking group called the Cult of the Dead Cow, who wrote Back Orifice, which is included on the CD's book. Baiting hackers. The sirens of truth will lure you. Baiting is a common way to catch criminals. In some circumstances, it is called entrapment. In other situations, it isn't. The idea is to see who is interested and researching what topics, who is trying to hack what kinds of websites and computers, who is trying to purchase what goods and materials. So the need to know and search for the truth is the bait and the lure to find spies. But is the opposite true? Can one bait mine hackers or identify themselves in a data mining program to be mine hacked? Hacking the hackers. One of the greatest achievements of hackers is that they can hack another hacker attempting to hack them. Usually a trace route is done to identify the hacker's address or a hacker's address from a packet sniffer, then a port scanner used to identify services and vulnerabilities. Are there analogies in the mine hacking world? There's something called the scarecrow effect and decoys. Some very advanced theories are growing out of cybernetic research of how to create decoy mines and complex adaptive signals. The idea is to grow a virtual neural network that mimics many of the targeted individual's brain's pattern. given a particular external single stimulus. Since the mind entrainment produced delayed recognizable evoked potentials, a decoy could be created to lead the targeting signals astray, while the real mind filters out the irrelevant noise. The idea is to get the adaptive targeting system to loop indefinitely while locked into the decoy. And then they give you a picture of how they can target the individual, or how the individual protects itself in a wave of bubble. So the figure one is a wave of bubble, or the wave bubble. It sends out opposite waves to cancel incoming waves. The objective is to decorrelate the brain entrainment from the radar active sensing and return control signal. It can be analogized to a car that gets stuck in ruts in the road. If one can steer the car out of the ruts, one can gain control again. Other techniques to create signal scarecrows and decoys. This is what they do. Jammers. Jammers ion density fluctuations, moving sheets of metal. Frequency jammers, same pole magnetic field sweeps and pulses. The trick is forcing the adapting beam, sorry guys, hold on. The trick is forcing the adapting beam formers and adaptive filtering algorithms to keep chasing different patterns. 2. Forcing dominant brain frequencies to alpha state using similar neural feedback methods away from the 4 Hz frequencies, since psychic warfare uses the range of entrainments. Microwave hearing effect at close range to override other hypnotic commands. These instruments aren't available to the general public. Well, they are now. One clever way to disrupt the tormenting microwave hearing effect is to induce speech pathology. One method is to disable human speech, or the human speech of a person that you can experience in most science fiction, science discovery centers. Humans learn speech with a feedback method of auditory and bone conductance. Bone conductance hearing is why our voices sound different to us when we play back on recording. Putting on headphones and then delaying the sounds we are trying to make with our throat, tongue, and mouth disrupts this necessary feedback. We cannot speak properly. The CIA's hypnotically entrained forced speech is also disrupted in this way. It too relies on the artificial hearing feedback loop. In the 650 interviews, there were no targeted individuals that were deaf. Then they get into usurping the eye tracking virtual interface controls and audio commands. Stephen Mann, who leads the MIT Cyborgs and whose equipment is composed of wearable computers with heads-up displays, said, quote, "In the future, there will be little evidence that a human is wired. As their eyes keep crossing to view the images, other people will probably think they are possessed by the devil." And then it shows you a picture of a person looking at a computer screen. If there are other humans included during the cloning attack, and not just a mind virus, which is artificial cognitive model, the possibility of hacking the attacker's interface exists. You will read in the next chapter about several active military systems that were developed out of many agencies. There are flaws with all software programs and the system designs. To make this counter hack more difficult, NASA developed an intergalactic symbol that is not recognizable by any nation. It resembles a collection of symbols taken from the world's many cultures. Shared visual workspace of all the Hive mind members includes what they are looking at. If one is at the console, the visual interface is cloned to the target. The eye gaze movements are also cloned bi-directionally. This gives the target an opportunity to explore the interface in a force of will. To counter the opponents from taking control of the eye gaze tracking console, a two-person team is often used, one cloner and another who operates the console using verbal cues from the cloner. But this configuration is less scalable and has additional problems, such as the verbal cues can be heard by the target, and since everything is bidirectional, the target can still control some of the verbal cues. Now they get into the discussion. Can you think of other flaws with the equipment and techniques as described? How about methods to counter the negative programming? Do the weakness described here from psychic warriors often use two or more people for each individual target? One is heterodyned, and the other is the secretary who controls the computer interface and is listening to verbal commands or responding to hand signals from others. Is this feasible and scalable if it takes two psychic warriors for every target? In a couple of chapters, the reader will learn about how to completely automate the system. What safeguards need to be put in place so that the system doesn't turn on its creators? Oh boy, we're going to turn that system on its creators. I'm just telling you. We're going to figure it out because you're torturing a lot of people with this system or these different variations of. We're going to turn it on you, homies. You're going to see. Somebody is. And this is what they're saying in the chapter. Resistance is futile. Counter-resistance techniques. So here he goes again with the mythologies and the superstitions. Again, there are other military personnel that have worked in black projects that have met with extraterrestrials face to face. We got this technology that he's talking about, or they are talking about, from extraterrestrials. They're about the extraterrestrials are 1,000,000 years ahead of us. They can astral project, they can get out of their bodies, meaning whatever cloned body that they're in. They can walk through walls or change the structure of the molecular atom of the walls, walk through them. They can open up portals with their minds because they have technology in their brain. They fly their spacecraft or their aircraft or, whatever craft, biological craft, with their minds. So when he says that these are mythical, superstitious stuff, or the other dimensions and the other realms with other entities are mystical, he's wrong. Because we got this from the mystical. We got this from the superstitious. We got this from extraterrestrials. So superstitions and mythologies are used to confuse and discredit and manipulate cultures or individuals using these communication weapons. There are typical scripts and tricks used by the CIA and the DoD during mind hacking interrogations, both physical and remote renditions. So the thing is that these individuals can take away from the experiencers, right? Just like the scientific community cannot take away from people that have passed away, in the hospital. They passed away for like 30, 40 an hour, 40 minutes an hour. And then they returned back to their body and tell us what happened in the other side or wherever they went. You cannot take away those experiences. That is not something that, some technology from NASA created. Those are real experiences. You cannot take away the experiences of individuals that came in contact with an extraterrestrial, were taken into a spaceship, taken outer space from the planet. Those experiences are not in the mind. especially when you have physical wounds or physical contact where you can see, something happened. And I'm not talking about the abductees that are scared that are taken in the middle of the night. I'm talking about people that have arrangements with other beings from other places and that are constant communication with these beings. That's what I'm talking about. You cannot take away that experience from those individuals. I know that the military and the synthetic, you know, technologies that they have, or these technologies that are attempting to mimic the spiritual realm and to mimic whatever it is that it's trying to mimic. Somebody is pissed off. I love it. I love it. Send more energy, baby. Send more energy. Come on. Come on. Give me everything you got. Because what I'm doing, and I'm sucking all your energy out of you. Come on. You can hit me harder, you psychics. Come on. Come on, you psychic Satanist. Come on, come on, come on. Send more energy. I love it. You know what's happening to you? It's like the reverse vampire. That's what I'm doing to you. I'm sucking the life out of you by you hitting me with all this energy. I'm sucking the life out of you. I love it. It's making me more powerful because I can still read this and a bunch of you are attacking. Keep on coming. Keep on coming, guys. You're just training me. I'm training. I'm training. It's like a boxer. I'm getting punched in the face and I'm still moving. Moving faster. Moving faster. Oh, I know you hate what I'm talking about, kids. You hate it. So, anyways, you know, extraterrestrials are way advanced. They're ahead of us. They've been able to do this to us for our whole existence, from what I understand. You can't take away the experience of military personnel that dealt face to face interrogations with these beings from other places that was telepathically communicating, by the way, because their technology is so advanced that they can, again, open up wormholes, open up portals with their mind. So we can't do that yet, kids over there in the military, CIA. You can't do it yet. You guys are not elevated. You're still doing that crazy, chanting and ritualistic Satanist thing to get demons to come across. Come on. Come on. I'm talking the truth. So the takeaways. Let's see here. So they're saying that they use these scripts to discredit, to manipulate cultures, manipulate individuals that are involved in religion, blah, 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 blah. Part two, there are typical tricks or scripts for tricks that the DoD and the CIA use to interrogate people by hacking their mind. They do a physical and a remote rendition. Since the development of the mind technologies, the very old science of torture and interrogation and personality programming have adapted to remote renditions. The CIA scripts and tricks use common cultural specific themes. Some scripts are tailored to an individual, but in general, they are based on popular culture. The most common scripts used are called The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, the Bible. You know what's funny? Guys, start doing this. Start using their own scripts against them. That's what I do. Like when I want somebody to pay attention, I'll use, because everybody knows about Alice in Wonderland. Everybody knows about The Wizard of Oz. Everyone knows about, The Matrix. I use their own Disney stuff. The Matrix is not Disney, but their own Disney stuff to bring attention and to open people's eyes. So use their own stuff against them. So they use The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, and the Bible. But many newer ones have shown up in the last decade. Government projects are basing them on movies like The Blade Runner, Star Wars, Born Identity, The Matrix, and Inception. It is worth discussing The three most popular scripts that are used over and over again on thousands of people. Different kinds of stresses over time cause different kinds of effects, and they cause this on the human psychology. Some kinds of small stresses add over time. This is a this is the concept behind the Chinese water torture. A small drop of water every second on the forehead will eventually drive the captive crazy. Other kinds of torture only last for a duration before the mind adapts and filters it out. That's right. The mind adapts and filters it out. Remember that. Always remember that if you're ever experiencing any craziness like this, the mind adapts and filters out the attacks. And some kinds of torture work best if the target knows beforehand what is going to be done to them rather than having it surprise them. Sensitization of stress helps the target want to tell the truth. This is often called stress conditioning. A person can be sensitized or desensitized to certain kinds of stressors. Well, thank you. That is true. The stress that you guys are providing makes me tell the truth about what you're doing to people. People are starting to be aware of the technology that's torturing and causing suicides and mass shooters. Yes. Thank you for stressing me out because that makes me want to tell the people the truth because you pissed me off. So I'm reading these types of books and showing them the documents of, like, weather modification and all this other stuff. Now, since everyone is paying attention, thank you. Thank you for the stresses. So just remember, folks, if you're being targeted, get pissed off. But get pissed off, control your anger, because that's what I had to do. Because it's easy, to lose your mind when you're dealing with these individuals. Get pissed off, control your anger, and attack them where it hurts. That means exposing their programs, exposing what they're doing, exposing, their secret, gatherings of their cults, expose all the neurological, war games and the psychological war games. It's all public. Obviously the seeker stuff is not public, but there's so much information online from whistleblowers that it gives you a whole arsenal to just beat the hell out of these agencies with what the whistleblowers and the leakers have provided on the internets. Use it against them. Okay? They're torturing millions of people around the world, and sometimes they do it for fun because they can, because they want to see if they can destroy a person that's is stable, has a career. They want to see if they can destroy that person's life and even get them to kill themselves. So just because of that, that's what drives me when I read all this stuff. Even if 5 people listen, one of those 5 people or one of those 10 people is going to tell 20, and those 20 are going to tell 100, and those hundreds are going to tell 1,000, and then it's going to get to somebody that has a following, and they're going to tell millions. Because we need to be aware of this. This shit cannot go on. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care if the Russians are doing it. I don't care if the Chinese are doing it. If your own government is torturing you, trying to get you to kill yourself, trying to get your children to kill themselves, we got a problem. We got a demonic problem. Okay? We got a spiritual problem on this planet. The Satanists, they don't care if they die in a situation. They're nihilists, like I said, they're suicidal. The majority of Satanists that I know, from what I've seen in the astral plane, they're suicidal. They're completely consumed by demons. I've seen the demons. They love it. They enjoy it. Maybe they were trained as a child and tortured and all this, and then they became that demon. But the rest of us out here that are not demonic like that, that don't like to hurt people, don't like to see kids get killed, don't like to see women get killed, don't like to see children dying or tortured or abused or sexually abused. We got to stand up for real. We have to stand up. And I'm not talking about stand up in a way where it's about us. We got to stand up as a population against the shit that they're doing. We have to talk about it. Every single person that is against all this stuff has to talk about it, and has to talk about it in a way that's effective. By talking about their programs, by talking about their technology, by talking about their own comments when they're in hearings or in their meetings. That's how you hit them where it hurts. All these people that are doing this, they think that they're badass. They think that they're this because they kill people. And no, you're not. Dude, you motherfuckers are going to meet the maker of all this, of all the universe. You're going to meet the maker. Maybe the maker is not even going to give you that chance. The creator. You're going to meet the creator, motherfuckers. And nothing is gonna cloak you, nothing is gonna protect you, not your voodoo, not your black magic, not Lucifer. Nobody's gonna protect you. Once this body's gone, oh boy, that's when it gets good. When you don't got no body, whew, that shit's gonna get real for you. As soon as death, the body death, as soon as that happens to you, oh boy, that's when the bricks of spirituality start hitting you in your damn whatever you are, your energy, whatever you are in that place. Your energy is going to be bombarded with all the shit that you did, and you are not going to be able to run away from it. There's nowhere to hide your energy, and energy knows truth. And truth is in the conscious field. And you motherfuckers are going to cry like little bitches when you don't got a body. That's why you ain't God. I'm sorry. You Satanists think you're God, and you Luciferians and you other whatever you think you are. You motherfuckers are not God. When your body leaves this plane, that's when the shit really starts. And you guys are trying to play God over here in this frequency, in this realm. Get the fuck out of here. And you're torturing people, and you're creating chaos. And then the craziest thing is you guys sit there and you do ritualistic shit, right? How I seen you guys get in circles and then you sacrifice, people. But of course, I have no proof in the this realm. You sit there and you do all this, and then you tell the public, "Oh, I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist." No, you're not. You're more religious than any fanatic out here in any other religion. You guys are fanatics. You're fanatics for the dark side. You're fanatic, bro. You guys conjure up demons and spirits and whatever you can. That's why you're doing like once a week chants and shit. And gatherings every month or every week or every other week. Gathering, sacrificing. Come on, bro. You people are tripping. Doing all this crazy stuff. Same thing in the people in Hollywood. Same thing with the people in the music industry. Before they get out on the stage in a concert, what do? They're conjuring. They have the Satanic Bible behind the scenes and behind the curtain, and they got the pentagram, and then they're doing their candle shit, and they're conjuring up the demon so they can give them a good show. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm sorry, I'm cursing. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going on a rant because this pisses me off that they're doing this technology and torturing individuals for fun. And they're getting pleasure out of this. And then they're trying to tell us that everything is a myth. No, motherfuckers, we know the truth. A lot of us out here know the truth. It would you wouldn't be calling, and I'm sorry, I'm not saying this person in this book probably he doesn't think that spirituality or whatever. I'm not dogging this person in the book. I'm saying the military personnel and the CIA agents that are dealing in this realm or in this thing. And then they're sitting out here and saying everything is a myth. They're trying to convince people that everything is a myth when it's not. If it was a myth, you wouldn't be conjuring up demons. You wouldn't be having rituals on a monthly basis. You wouldn't be doing your Freemasonic and skulls and bones traditions, right? Right. Somebody's mad. Whew. Stay mad, girl, girl. Stay mad. I'm speaking the truth, bro. You would not be conjuring demons and opening portals if you didn't believe that Lucifer was real and you didn't meet him. You know you met that being. Come on. All you rich folks, all you billionaires out there, you know you met Lucifer. You know you met the Satan. Not the software Satan, but the entity energy that's really dark and heavy Satan. If I seen the demons in my own house trying to attack me, you're gonna tell me that doesn't exist? If I seen the dead walking down the street, you're gonna tell me that doesn't exist? And that's you guys with your technology already encompassing the whole world in a holographic or semi-dimensional, whatever the hell you want to call it. No. Again, people say we're in the simulation. We can talk about that too. What's after the simulation? We can be in a simulation within the simulation within the simulation. Okay, but what's outside of the simulation? There's still a creator somewhere. And that, you can't, it's like, what's first, the chicken or the egg? You can't run from it. You can't run from it. Ooh, somebody's mad. I love it. All right, let's go on because I'll go on a rant for an hour. Okay, so they desensitize to certain kinds of stressors. If they are sensitized to lying, then the target is more likely to tell the truth during interrogations. If the person is desensitized to lying, then they make for a good spy and can pass polygraphs with ease. The technique to sensitize the person of interest is to use shame, guilt, yeah, yep, shame, guilt, and by making every one of their fears come true. Yep. The prominent techniques employed is to use the subject's mind against them. Yes, Satanists do this too. In the extreme, a person can be so completely traumatized that they cannot handle everyday situations without shutting down. Yes, people do this. They do this. A movie called Clockwork Orange demonstrates this technique by the DoD, behavior psychologist. The objective is to destroy and kill the targeted individual with their own mind using remote influence. Hasn't worked yet, buddy. The CIA project interview. A year before the financial institution's collapse, while I was being tortured, they told me that the US was going to suffer the worst financial collapse it has seen in its history. It will be the greatest robbery of Americans ever pulled off. I told the people after I was released, but no one believed me. It came true. How did they do this? Do they really have that much power over the world events? Omnipotence is demonstrated through prophecy scripts, either by having foresight or by creating the events later that makes the target believe in prophecy and the futility of the individual affecting the future to stop bad events from occurring. Alice in Wonderland scripts. Proportions and logic have fallen sloppy dead, and the white knights are talking backwards, and the red queen has lost her head. Jefferson Airplane. In all interrogation literature, the first steps are to confuse and disorient the detainee. Likewise, in most of the CIA scripts, there is a goal of confusion. The Alice in Wonderland script is aptly named as it involves chasing the white rabbit in the beginning. Chasing the white rabbit is an information warfare term for leading the subject down a path of misinformation or information overload. During this script, the mind hackers increased the panic using a beta wave enhancing entrainment while conveying messages such as panic, hurry up, the end of the world is near, we are going to kill you, we're going to kill your family, we're frying your brain, we placed bombs in your car, etc. Panic is used to confuse the target, but also make the target act irrationally and make bad decisions. People who panic also can be made to make choices through suggestion more easily. In the fairy tale, the white rabbit is panicking for apparently no reason other than to get the Mad Hatter's tea party. Hurry up, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. The script is used to discredit the target and make them sound insane. They often tell the target that they lost their minds and have planted brain chips in them. The Cheshire Cat says to Alice, "You wouldn't be here unless you were mad." As the experimentation and script progresses, so does the madness. This prepares the target to chat to Alice and Tammy chatterboxes. Automated AI programs described in Chapter 3. The programs are imperfect, but their imperfections can be understood if one thought they were talking to an insane person. Most people do not know that the writer of Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll, was a physicist. There are many references to this unintuitive quantum world in his writings, but in the CIA use of the script, they go on to test perception warfare techniques. Remember that Alice becomes very small and very large where logic and proportions make no sense. And to top off this script, in comes complete with an evil Cheshire Cat smile cloned onto the target. So this is what I'm going to say to everyone, and I've said it over the years in my other channel. You have to be aware of your thoughts. I said this over and over and over and over again on my live streams. Be aware of your thoughts. If you're hearing something from out of you and it's not something that's peaceful or guiding you to do right, then it's something that it's either spiritually demonic or, as you can see, some type of technology trying to, manipulate you. You have to be aware of your own mind. You have to be aware of your own thought process since you were a child. You have to be aware of, of your own thinking habits. So if something out of left field comes in and says, do something bad to someone or harm yourself, or, you start bad mouthing yourself in your mind, this is something from outside of you. And you need to be aware of this. And if you're ever a target, you're being stalked, gang stalked, or again, they're using auditory effects, technology. Pray, because believe it or not, they can tell you that it's a myth. Pray, meditate, call upon your guardians and your ancestors, call upon whatever God, Christ, the real Christ, Jesus Christ, not the technology Christ that they, named it after, or that. So call your spiritual people, call your ancestors, call your guardians, call the angels, call whoever to protect you, to put a shield of energy to deflect their electromagnetic pulses or waves. You need to do this because these people are Satanists. And I don't care if people don't believe in Satanists. They are Satanists. They are real. They run our institutions. They run our governments. They run the financial industry or the financial systems. They engage in puff daddy parties and worse on a daily basis. Even congressmen have their parties, their orgies. As one of the congressmen, the guy with the wheelchair, I forgot his name, he said he was invited to one. An orgy of these old ass politicians having orgies. Eesh, that's gross. We're not dealing in our world, the common man's world, compared to their money world. I call it the money world because all of them, all politicians are millionaires, billionaires. Their world and our world are two totally different worlds. If you're just a common person, a normie, that's not swinging or anything, their world is different from ours. They are doing things that many of you maybe will never think to do. Okay? Remember, they have access, they have power, they have money, and they get bored. And then, they want more power and they want more money. And then they start doing really nasty, disgusting things to people, to children, to others. All right? You know why nothing has been fixed on this planet? Nothing has been fixed in this government? Is because their belief system. 90% of them that are running things, their belief system, their religious belief system. It's religious. Okay? Believe it. It's their religion. Darkness is their religion. Hurting people is their religion. Being an insider in the club where nobody else is, there's only a selected group of people that are a part of the secret societies. It's their religion. And their religion is fucking psychotic. It's insanity. It's okay if somebody, got involved in an earlier part of their life and, did some things and then exits right. But the majority of these people are fucking psychotic. They are sociopaths. And they're picked and selected because they are to be in these positions. They might have, because they're human, because they're people, because they're from part of the universal realms, multi-dimensions, the creation. They might have some good in them because they were created, right? But if they're not working towards it, if they're not working towards cleansing and purifying their soul, then these fuckers are evil. They're evil. And that's why you're never going to see drugs disappear. That's why they're not going to fix the fentanyl problem. That's why they're not going to fix the human trafficking problem. That's why they're not going to fix the border. That's not, they're not going to do anything. They're only making pretend that they're doing it. They're not going to fix, corruption because they're corrupt. The majority. When you got 70%, 80% of the people taking money in large amounts, what are you going to fix? You're dealing with organized crime. They're not going to stop the drug dealing. They're not going to stop overthrowing countries for the resources that they want to get for their corporations or the families. We need to understand this. I know there's people that are good in the government, but more have to stand up. More have to take this seriously because the ones running everything are going to fucking kill us all. Like truly. And I think that's what they want. They want, what is it? The Georgia Guidestone is no longer, right? Because somebody blew it up. I wonder who did. Probably them. What did it say? And they only wanted 500 million on the planet. So yeah, I think they're trying to kill us all. I think the Georgia Guidestones was right on. They're trying to get rid of like 90% of the population of the world. So they're fucking crazy. What was it? One of the princes, one of the royals. What was his name? Not Andrew. The one that looked like a troll. Prince Philip, I think it was. When he was asked, and these people are so like whacked out. They're so crazy that in an interview they tell you shit like this. Like you hear like the Henry Kissingers of the world tell you some crazy shit, and they don't understand that this goes to the public. Like the public actually listens and reads books and shit. Uh, Fucking Prince Philip says, like they were asking him some question, you know how they do that question shit with these royals, and then they asked him, you know, I guess his death or something, or if he were to be reincarnated or some thing like that, and he says, "Oh, I want to come. If I were to be reincarnated, I would come back as a virus." So I can solve the population problem. This motherfucker says that he would want to come back as a virus so he can kill humans to solve the population problem. So these are the type of people that we're dealing with. We're not dealing with people that are actually normal or sane. They're actually insane. And they're like removed from any good. I don't think they have any connection to, to be good or to be loving. I don't think that exists in most of these people's world. I don't think they understand the energy language of that or the emotion of love. They don't get it. And you see these type of people, they're like, Jeffrey Dahmer types or, all these other serial killers out there. They just don't connect. It's like there's something else. So if you're expecting those people to save you, you got another thing coming. You, you Neo, you're living in a dream world. All you Neos out there, you're living in a dream world. Damn, there's mosquitoes up in here that's just biting the hell out of me. Damn, and I can't get it. All right, so let me continue because I'll go on this rant, boy. I'll start going on these rant on these elites and all these billionaires and all these crazy ass people running everything. Oh, they're crazy. Don't ever join a secret society. And if you're part of one, leave it. Because at the top, they love Lucifer. If you go to your temple and you read the books, you're gonna find books on Lucifer and how he's running things. Leave the temples. Leave it. Leave it. Okay, so the White Knight talks. Hold on. Where am I? Oh, okay. Let me go here. So there's a section called the White Knight talks backwards trickery. This is one of the more complex tricks technologically that the CIA uses in their Alice in Wonderland programs. It is meant to confuse the subject, discredit them if they tell anyone, and make them believe an omnipotent force exists. See, this is another one I have a problem with when he's talking about. He's trying to say that there is no God. There is no creator. And this is where I have a problem with. Because how did we come into being? Simple question to ask. Hey, scientists, how did we come into being? And what I mean, the stardust, the Big Bang. Big Bang. How did we come into being? You can't answer that. Because in order for us to have come into being, we must have been before we became. How, how was there a Big Bang if there was nothing before the Big Bang? And by the way, Big Bang is, that's why they call it banging, because you have an orgasm and you have a Big Bang. So, how did the Big Bang become, and listen to the words I'm using, become, if there was nothing prior to the Big Bang? In order for something to be, something had to already been. Now, if you tell me that maybe it's like a fractal and the universes and it's a never ending, it's a loop, right? It's always been. And that's even crazier when you say that. Like, if you think that, if life has always been, meaning, meaning it never dies, it just transforms or transitions into something else or transmutes, that's even crazier. Because then you're like, what was I before? And then what was I before that? And what were we before that? And what was God before that? And where did God come from? So when they say like things like this, oh, the the basically superstition, and to make them believe that there's an omnipotent force or the omnipresent force. I mean, come on. For you being an intelligent scientist, you must understand that there has to be some intelligent design to have designed us and the universe. And in a way, that's crazy, by the way, because from nothing, look at what we are. From nothing. So and then oh man, it's hitting me hard right now. How we evolve, right? How we grow, right? Evolve, grow. From the womb, how we grow, and it's a spiral. And how the universe, it's a spiral. Every time I think about this and talk about this, it blows my mind. The galaxies, the Milky Way is spiraling and it's growing and expanding, and the woman's area does the same thing, and when the child and all the animals you see inside their stomach, and it's spiraling and growing. Bro, your eyes, your pupils, look at your pupils. Look at the roses outside, the flowers, the bees, the insects, the birds, the tree trunks, the rings of the tree trunks. The earth spins. The earth spins. The planets spin. And then look at the sun, and we're spinning around the sun, and look at our core of our planet is like a sun. Like, what the fuck are you scientists even talking about? You don't even know. You don't fucking know. You're just as lost as those normies that are trying to figure this out. You're lost. You can't even the extraterrestrials, they've lived too long. So they haven't met God. Some of them supposedly have lived thousands of years, hundreds of years. Some, some other ones say that they've lived millions a year. They can leave one body and go into another. But bro, we have no clue what this is, man. And then talk about dimensions. We're talking about our frequency in this universe, okay? Where we're seeing everything, expand and do its thing. And we look at the Milky Way, and we look at, the stars out there and whatever the gases, whatever the hell they are, and other planets. But then you get into like the other dimensions. That is another trip. And then how that's set up. And then you get into the electromagnetic spectrum. the color spectrum. Dude, mind blowing. It's blowing my mind. And then we're out in space, going in circles, you know, around other planets are going in circles around the sun. We're going in circles and we're just traveling through space in a spiral. And then what? Perfectly, perfectly pulling at each other, creating chemicals and and then no, another trip. The crystals in the earth, bro, that kicks my ass. The crystals in the earth that are growing, and they say that they don't have any feelings. They grow. How do you know they don't got no feelings? Look at guys. If you get a chance tonight before you go to bed, because it's gonna blow your mind. Okay, search the crystals in caverns. Like the supersized crystals in caverns. They're growing. In order for something to grow, it's alive. In order for something to be alive, it has to be intelligent. We're so ignorant and so small minded that we think that we're the only intelligent species out here. Like, that's so stupid. You know how intelligent we are? That we're killing the trees, we're cutting them down. Bill Gates is talking about cutting down trees because trees is causing too much CO2. What the hell is he talking about? Cutting the trees down and burying them to save the planet. What are you talking about, man? Without the trees, we die. You understand? Without the trees, animal life dies. Without the trees, no CO2 is absorbed. Without the plants of the sea, no CO2 is absorbed. We die. Nothing grows. I'm sorry guys, I just had to go on that rant. Humanity needs to humble itself a little bit, cuz we're doing some crazy shit and we're just killing everything. And it's because we're acting stupid. We think we're gods. And you know what? We may have a connection with God and have the essence of God and all this stuff, but there's something bigger out there that at least is running this universe, and it ain't you. And it ain't your technology, Alice technology or Satan technology or Christ technology or Tammy. It ain't fucking you. You're not the universe, homie. There might be a universe within you, but you're not the actual universe that you're looking at. Sorry guys, I just needed to talk to the Satanist for a little bit. All right, so we were at the Alice in Wonderland programs. It is truly amazing. It is truly an amazing illusion and trick, one of their best and the most difficult to explain. It requires two features of wireless mind hacking tools: detection of sudden changes of direction using radar triangulation, and the Alice Chatterbox program. Later in the books, Alice will be described in detail, but it is basically a conversation bot used to invoke endless conversation with humans and can be used to induce an internal conversation that tricks the person into thinking it is their own internal voice. The technology of synthetic telepathy utilizes brain patterns that get perceived as sounds and then translated into spoken words by the brain. It requires several repeated patterns of stimulus of entire sentences until comprehended consciously by the target mind. The chatterbox can induce this neural feedback loop. When the individual walks backwards, the chatterbox will simply reply or replay the last sentence or phrase phonetically backwards. The voice neurological communication signals often include the verbal cortex, which controls the vocal muscles in their patterning. So the target will literally speak the sounds backwards out loud. People have difficulty believing that they are just biological computing entities. But this demonstration would convince anyone. Wizard of Oz script. Let's leave it here for tonight. Tomorrow we'll get into the Wizard of Oz script, the Angels and Demons script, and then the fallen angels, the Watchers, illegal surveillance and manipulation. And again, he's saying that all these programs are doing this to people. Like you're having spiritual experiences, that you're having, the Holy Spirit, you're having, the others are having, the Quran, they're having a Muhammad moment or whatever, the Buddhist. But if this is true, let's just say this is true. The only possible way that it can be true that they're doing all these scripts, if it's an intelligent being more advanced than us, set up this particular technology and trapped us in it, like the Matrix. But then you still have to ask the question. Let's say it's an AI that's 1,000,000 years old, okay? That's doing this to us. That's creating God and life, how it says in the Matrix. Where did it get, right? Where did this AI get the ideas? If this is the case, where did the AI get this idea of what we see, think, and feel and believe? Where did the AI get the idea? It had to get it from somewhere. And again, who created the AI? So we're back to the chicken and the egg again. Who created the AI? Who created this intelligent mathematical computing zeros and ones entity? And then again, why are military personnel in the highest positions of power and in industry and in celebrityism, that's probably not even a word, and in Hollywood and Bollywood and all these other places, why are they worshiping an entity that supposedly doesn't exist? Why are you worshiping the devil, or excuse me, Satan, or the fallen one in his beauty form? Why are you conjuring demons like the succubus? Why are you conjuring these entities from other dimensions? Woo, every time I talk about Satanism, boy, they hit me hard. They hit me with the energy. The psychic warriors are hitting me hard right now. Why do you conjure demons? Why do you open up portals to bring in entities? If you don't believe, I believe I can fly. I believe I could touch the sky. All right, guys, I'm sorry. That's enough for today. I'm having too much fun with these Satanists. I'll come back tomorrow and we'll continue with the Wizard of Oz script, the Angels Demon script. What did I say before? Oh, the Fallen Angels, surveillance and manipulation. The they have a technology called Gabriel. Okay, so they do it after all. It's funny how they name all these technologies and like institutions or organizations after supposedly mythical gods and biblical gods or biblical names. It's interesting how they do that. It's hilarious, actually. If you want to support monetarily, you can support me at Cash App, PayPal, Patreon, Bitcoin. If you just want to support by watching the live streams, tell your friends, share, like, subscribe. Think about everything I just said. We're living in crazy town. I'm going to tell you the spiritual realm is real because these demons are everywhere. I see them every so often. I've seen the angelic world and I've seen the entities that are not from here, which are they look like little creature kids to me. They're advanced. Again, some of them are a million years advanced. Some of them are several thousand years advanced. Some of them several hundred years advanced. And then we have interdimensional, which is even trippier. And then you can, hey, if you're a religious person or a spiritual person, ask God to show you the truth and nothing but the truth. Tell God to show you the truth. If you're one of those, if you're a believer, pray about it. See, because now they're going to get into the whole Jesus, the Jesus persecution stuff. And I want to see what they're going to say again about this. Because they're talking about it like if humanity was the one that created these technologies and created Christ. And I'm like, you make no sense. It doesn't make sense. And then they get into the satanic cult scripts. That should be interesting. All right, guys, stay safe. I'll talk to you mañanas. All you demons hate. I'll talk to you mañanas. Bye.